Hey guys, what the fuck is up, you guys? My name is eManDan6242 and welcome to another video, another album ranking video. This time, I'm ranking all of the Deftones albums. This is another one of my favorite bands, an alternative metal, new metal band, shoegaze, all over the place kind of band. They have recently gained some mainstream attention due to some publicity on TikTok. But I have been a fan of them before all the normies and the unfunnies and the cringies got their hands on them. Deftones has an extremely solid discography, almost every album they've released being great. The one before this album was one of their best, but Gore is the only Deftones album that is just okay. It's a bland, basic record that does nothing but play the same Deftones style, just more bare bones and watered down. It's not even a bad album. At worst, it's just okay, and it has a few good songs. The opener, Prayers Triangles, is one of the few notable tracks. It's pretty basic, but it's good. The quieter verses have a nice guitar melody, and the chorus is open and enthralling. Doomed User is a heavier track, but still feels like nothing compared to the plethora of heavy tracks since their change in style. Heart's Wires is another good song. When I first heard the song, it stood out as a great track in Deftones' discography. But when I listen to all their albums, now it just feels like a slightly above average track. It's still one of the best songs off of Gore. The long intro is unique and nice. It's kind of chilling and somber. The vocals sound good when they kick in. The chorus feels like a small explosion when it starts halfway through. The bridge is really cool though. The vocals are chilling and memorable. Pittura Infamante starts with an unusual and odd guitar riff that I'm not really a fan of. The song is kinda unique, having one long verse and then chorus, bridge, outro, but the verse goes on too long and it gets boring. And like most of the songs of the album, the verses and choruses don't really deviate much from each other, and you start to go on autopilot listening to it. Gore is an alright track. The verses have a nice beat to them, and after the last chorus, Gore goes on an extended outro with a slow breakdown of separated beats, but then it goes on a little too long. Phantom Bride is by far the best track of the album, and the only one I come back to. The guitar melody is really nice. The verses are longing and mystical. The song has one of the only Deftones guitar solos in it. That solo being done by Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains. It's actually quite nice and adds a lot to the song. One of the few songs off this album to actually do anything interesting. Gore is an okay album that is just basic Deftones with nothing really interesting. Still impressive that even at their worst, with 9 albums, Deftones is far from bad. This was another decent release from Deftones. Much like Gore, it's mostly straightforward Deftones, but it's slightly better. There aren't any standout tracks for me, like Gore had a couple, but these songs are overall better. Ohms goes in a very riffy rock direction, somewhat deviating from the euphoric, ethereal shoegaze side of them, but it works, mostly. The riffs are punchy and it's a hard-hitting album, but then again it focuses on a lot of the heavier sound without being a heavy album. It feels slightly watered down like Gore felt. Urantia is a cool track with a sick riff and slightly off-sounding vocals. The guitars are repetitive and fast, and the drums are simple and consistent. The Spell of Mathematic is a calm, slower track. It's nice and soothing, but the song feels like it was set to 0.75 times speed during the verses. The song has a nice instrumental outro. It's soothing with a nice drum beat and clapped hands. Pompeii is a straightforward track, but it's good. The guitars in the beginning are shoegazy and chorusy. The chorus is neat, it's hard-hitting, then the post-chorus is calm and open. The song ends with another long outro, with an ominous dark synth and the sound of the ocean. The Link is Dead is an aggressive song with in-your-face verses. Usually the instrumental reflects the vocals in aggression, but the instrumental is just ominous guitar notes and a skittering fast drum beat. The title track, Ohms, is the song I remember most. I wish the song was the opening track instead of the closer. It's a good song and it feels like it could be off of Self-Titled or Saturday Night Wrist. The guitar riff is really neat. As a closer, it works, I guess, but it doesn't feel like it belongs there. Ohms is a decent album that is slightly forgettable and uninteresting to me. It's still decently good, but it wasn't anything that special. The first Deftones album, Adrenaline, is a heavy and raw album. It has a very early nu metal sound to it. It's different from what Around the Fur would sound like, and different from what most nu metal would sound like in the late 90s and early 2000s. This album can be somewhat dated, looking back nearly 30 years. And it could be very one note, with most songs having the rap metal early nu metal sound. But the album is still pretty brutal and raw and has a lot of merits. I really like the heavy sound. The guitars are deep and the vocals contrast from whispers to in-your-face screams. The album feels cold and claustrophobic. It feels always on the edge and ready to break. It's different from their later sound that feels much more open and grand. Deftones is a prime example of a band that completely changed their sound and benefited from it entirely. Opening song, Bored, is great. Fucking bitches! It blends loud, blaring instrumentals and screams with chugging guitars and unhinged vocals. It's a great and straightforward track. Minus Blindfold shows more of Chino's manic, unhinged vocals, as well as his rapping. I really like the chorus of the song. It's manic with a great alt-metal guitar riff. One Week is a very claustrophobic song. The bass line with disturbing sounding vocals creates this eerie atmosphere. The chorus lets loose that tension before the verse tenses up again, even more so. Halfway through the second verse, the song explodes with a loud instrumental and more open vocals. Nosebleed is one of the more static songs of the album. It's nothing special except it has the most unhinged vocals off the album that sounds a lot like Jonathan Davis of Korn. Root has a really cool guitar riff. There's a nice melody that starts the song off, then a great heavy riff. The bridge of the song is chaotic. The vocals and guitars are all over the place. The song quiets down before exploding into this epic outro with loud yells from Chino and a fast guitar melody. 7 Words is an angry and visceral track. Chino yells "suck" over and over again in the chorus, and the bridge is one of the best rap metal performances from Chino. Engine Number 9 is the most aggressive song off the album and one of the most aggressive from the band. The guitar is gnarly. It's one of the best sounding off the album. The verses are yell-rapped and the chorus is full of scream. The bridge is great. Again, the guitar riff is awesome. The closer, Fire Real, is a very different song. It's much more somber and dark. The song is about rejection and the stages of it. The song starts with quieter and calmer verses, then explodes with loud choruses. Halfway through, the song completely changes with this really cool sound. Chino sings about wanting to be more than what he is for a girl, knowing he can't be. The instrumental is loud, but it's a very different sound from earlier songs. There is a hidden track, Fist, that is, in my opinion, the best song off the album. It has a completely different sound to it, almost sounding post-rock in a way. The first half of the song is an instrumental, then it explodes into this short but heavy deep sound. When the vocals come in, they are unorthodox and detached from the instrumental. The song gets heavy again and the vocals are loud and longing. It's an excellent song to leave off this album. Adrenaline is a great album. It's mostly one note and very dated, but it's raw and aggressive and has great songs. After releasing 2 of their best albums, what was next for Deftones? It would be hard for any band to follow up 2 albums of that magnitude, but they delivered another great album. It may not be amazing, but Deftones' self-titled is still great. It continues the evolved sound of White Pony with some of the heaviness of the early work. The main problem with this album is it's just not nearly as good as their previous work. On its own, it's great. There are some great songs on here, but there are also some forgettable ones on here. The opener, Hexagram, has a heavy instrumental with strained vocals. The guitars are very heavy and shoegazy. This song plays with time signatures a lot. You could hear in the chorus as Chino repeats "worship play" but keeps switching it up. The most well-known song off the album, Minerva, is an excellent shoegaze track with heavy deep guitars. It's a grand anthemic song. It's a very unique song that sounds much like their later work with an earlier metal edge. It's an ecstasy-inducing track. When the bridge comes in after the song quiets down, it's easily the best part of the album. Deathblow is another excellent song. It's a quieter track. It's much softer with tender lyrics about being obsessed with someone and idealizing them. The instrumental goes from soft with a quiet somber guitar to these open choruses. It's a very meaningful track that really resonates with you. Next track, When Girls Telephone Boys, is a really heavy track. It has the same aggression that Deftones' early work had, but with much more aged vocals and lower tuned instruments. Ironically, Deftones tuned their instruments lower with each album. This song has a consistent aggression and heaviness. It's in complete contrast from the previous song. The song has rage-filled lyrics, the opposite of Deathblow. Lucky You is the most experimental track off the album. It's a trip-hop song, much like Teenager off of White Pony was. This song is much darker in tone and sound. The instrumental is really cool. It's not often Deftones write songs like these, but I really enjoy them. The electronic synths are really cool. This is an album that has more generic Deftones songs than most of their other albums. This is a really great and needed song to spice up the album. Bloody Cape goes back to the heavy side with a killer instrumental. The song explodes in the end with an awesome breakdown as Chino screams, "God help me." It's one of the better, kind of generic songs off the album, but this one fucks. I may not come back to songs like Needles and Pens, Good Morning Beautiful, or Battle Axe often, but they are still good songs. Anniversary of an Uninteresting Event is a very melancholic song. Once again, it goes back in that softer direction. It's another sadder, depressing song with a great instrumental. Again, changes the pace of the album for the better. The closer, Moana, starts with this neat guitar riff. The song combines the softer parts and the heavier parts to make this really cool sounding finale. Deftones' self-titled is a great album that may not be as out there or interesting as many of their other albums, but there are multiple really great songs on here. This album was written during a time where the band nearly broke up due to creative differences. So this album has a chaotic, odd, and unique sound to it. It's all over the place with different sounds and ideas. Despite all that, it's a really great album with very creative and memorable tracks. The biggest step up that this album has over the previous self-titled is that it's very memorable almost the whole way through. There may be like 2 decent songs and a really bad one, but it's all memorable at least. The first half of the album is really great. The opener, Hole in the Earth, has a really great new sound to it. This album gives me this certain feeling of the band playing in a large, open, outside venue during the day while raining. I don't know why, but that's the vibe I get. I get that same feeling from Death Heaven, so it might be a metal shoegaze thing. Hole in the Earth has some really great chugging riffs as well as shoegaze sounds. One interesting thing about the album is Chino's vocals. They are very unique at times. Rapture has chaotic and all over the place vocals. It's a heavier song with a heavier chugging instrumental, but Chino's vocals are not in sync with the rest of the instruments. It sounds pretty unique and cool in the end product. Beware is a really great slow burning song. It sounds eerie and dark. The instrumental is this dark synth sound with slow drums and quiet guitars. During the pre-chorus, there is this weird frog-like sound used. It's pretty off-putting. The chorus is dark and foreboding. The choruses get longer each time and sounds great by the third one. The song is longer for a Deftones song at 6 minutes. That's due to the heavy killer instrumental riff at 4.5 minutes in. That awesome riff plays back for a bit before this weird beat plays for the last 30 seconds. The beat is alright, but that frog comes back. I don't get why they used it. Cherry Waves is another great song. It's a classic, euphoric, ecstasy-inducing song with a dark edge to it. The chorus is amazing. The way Chino sings Suck is weird, with a SpongeBob laugh, like, Suck! But the way he sings You more than makes up for it. Mine is the perfect example for the band playing outside while raining feeling I get for the album. The instrumental is so awesome. It sounds loud and consistent and open. The song features Serj Tankian of System of a Down for a really cool bridge. Next song is a really awesome dark sounding instrumental called Up Up Down Down Left Right A B Start Select. This is the only time they've done an instrumental like this, and it sounds so good. I like these skittering drums with the plucky guitars. Rats, Rats, Rats is another partially heavy song with more all over the place vocals and chugging riffs mixed with their usual harmonic chords. Next song, Pink Cell Phone is the only bad song Deftones has ever written. This album has some weird choices on it, but this entire song was a mistake. It starts okay with a decent beat and female vocals. Later it goes into a monologue with more female vocals. The last part of the song is this disgusting description of butt sex. That's all I'm going to say. This song fucking sucks. The closer, Riviera, is a somber and calming ballad. It starts out with just heavy vocals and quieter guitars. It's a peaceful and majestic song. The song gets louder with the chorus halfway through. That is some of the staples from earlier on the album. Saturday Night Wrist is a divisive album that I did quite enjoy. It has a few hiccups, but overall it's very unique and a rewarding listen. I was surprised that I liked this album as much as I did on re-listen. The first time hearing it, it didn't stand out too much. I liked it about the same as the self-titled album. It's another very heavy album like Self-Titled, and again like Self-Titled, some of the better songs are the lighter ones. The album starts off strong with the title track Diamond Eyes. The instrumental is heavy and chugging. The chorus is very ethereal. The song is great, but I wish there was more to it. It could have been better. Command Control is another very heavy, aggressive song. The vocals are the closest thing to rapping that Chino has done since Around the Fur, but it sounds great and works well with the heavy down-tuned guitars. Beauty School is a great ethereal track. It has a consistent, nice beat. The chorus is grand and ethereal. Prince is an on-edge, abrasive track about unhealthy fans. The instrumental on the verses are dark and tense, while the chorus is let loose. Rocket Skates is a groovy, heavy, awesome track with heavy and hard-hitting instrumental. The guitar riff mixed with the chugging sounds awesome, and Chino's vocals go back and forth from aggressive screams to clean singing. Sex Tape is one of the big standout tracks. It's an ethereal, ecstasy-inducing song compared to the more heavier metal tracks. This is also the best song off the album by a long shot, and one of the best songs by the band. It's an amazing song that makes you feel things you didn't know you could feel. The verses are slow burning and build up to the amazing chorus where the song lets loose into that incredible feeling. Risk is a heavy, meaningful song. It's about the band's bassist, Chi Cheng, who was in a coma at the time. He got into a car accident in 2008 and was in a coma until 2013 when he passed away. 976 Evil has a really cool guitar intro. It's a very shoegazy, vibrant track. The vocals are longing. It's a unique song. It's different from the other ethereal songs and the heavier ones. It sounds different, and I'm all for it. This Place Is Death has a dark, foreboding tone to it. The instrumental is eerie and off-tempo. It reminds me of Moana. It's a consistent song that feels much like an album closer, but this song, much like the opener Diamond Eyes, could have been more. With some great songs back to back, this album was leading up to something big, but This Place Is Death leads off on a note of unsatisfactory. It's a good song, but I just wish there was more to it. Diamond Eyes is another excellent album in Deftones' career. It returns to the heavier sound, but it's different from the early work and self-titled. Like all Deftones' albums, it is unique and takes its own spin on things. Over a decade after their magnum opus, Deftones came back with multiple great albums, but Koi no Yokan is by far their best since. It's a heavy but ethereal album. It's consistent with great songs back to back. It has a great flow to it, and every song transitions into the next, which is something I love. Two of the band's best songs come from this album, Entombed and Rosemary. This album was peak, ethereal, ecstasy, euphoric Deftones. Swerve City starts the album out with a heavy, catchy riff. The song is pretty straightforward. Consistent great riff, back and forth between more aggressive chorus and the mystical verses. But usually it's the other way around. Romantic Dreams continues that sound with a nice guitar riff. The refrain is tense and changes the mood. The chorus is very heavy and loud. It's open and expansive. Leather starts out with a sweet and magical sounding guitar melody before the band slams you with a heavy wall of sound, which the band does a few times in this album. The rest of the song is pretty heavy and bombastic. It's the heaviest off the album. The song has the smoothest transition into the next, with the clapped hands going into Poltergeist. This song has a deep, heavy guitar riff. The verses are abrasive. A problem with this album is that, as great as the songs are, some of the songs sound too alike. Aside from a couple standout tracks, they are mostly the same idea. Entombed is a standout track though. It's an excellent, uplifting song. The instrumental has a smooth beat and almost progressive sounding melody. The chorus is amazing, it's euphoric, and the lyrics are great too. Shapes and colors are all I see. It's supposedly about having a child instead of being about love, which makes sense. It's an incredible song that is another top tier ethereal song, much like Sex Tape, Minerva, or Cherry Waves. The song ends with a warm beat and beautiful synths. Tempest is another killer song. The first verse is calm and collected, then the second verse is more aggressive. The chorus is excellent. It's another euphoric moment, but works so well. Rosemary is the other fantastic song off the album. The song starts out so ominous and foreboding, but beautiful at the same time. These looming guitars kick in the first verse. The whole band kicks in and it's amazing. The pre-chorus is amazing. It's arguably the most euphoric Deftones has ever sounded. It's otherworldly. The chorus takes things down a notch. It's much more soothing and calmer. After the last chorus, we get this amazing guitar riff. It's another almost progressive sound. The guitar riff is killer. It's the same thing over and over, but deviates a couple times. The song ends with this warm, beautiful, enveloping sound. The calm after the storm. Goon Squad continues that calmness with a beautiful guitar melody. Much like Leather's, the song explodes into another heavy wall of sound. The riff is awesome. The chorus is cold and tense. The closer, What Happened to You, is a melancholic ballad. The beat is fast, but the strings are cold and somber. Many songs off this album feel very similar, but overall, Koi no Yokan is a complete experience. Each song is great and adds to the album. It's a much different listen than the higher two albums, but this is a must listen for Deftones. This album is the best nu metal album, period, and one of the best metal albums ever. It's so much more than nu metal. It deviates from the rap metal side to more of an alternative metal. It's arguably more angry and aggressive than Adrenaline, but much more diverse. The songs are much more interesting while also keeping that heavy sound to it. There's much more experimentation hinting at the band's later work. My Own Summer, Shove It, is an iconic nu metal anthem. The guitars are raw and deep. Chino's vocals are disturbing. The entire album sounds like he's whispering right into your ear. Like he cannot be any closer to the microphone. The chorus is great. The heavy screaming followed by the melodic softer part. Mascara is a dark and depressing song. The lyrics describe an unhealthy relationship with a woman. The chorus is mournful. Chino's vocals are sad and longing. The bridge builds up to this climax that never comes. The song instead ends with this drum beat instrumental that transitions perfectly into the next song, Around the Fur. That missing climax for Mascara is fulfilled in this song. The song starts with an intense drum beat. The instrumentals and vocals are tense. The chorus is loud and blaring. Chino's vocals are abrasive but melodic. Much like My Own Summer, the chorus starts heavy and aggressive, then ends calmer with clean vocals. There is a consistent drum beat grounding the song. The bridge is one of the most off-the-walls part of this album. It's all over the place and I love it. Ricketts features very interesting vocals and lyrics from Chino. In the verses, he lists numerous problems with himself. Be Quiet and Drive, Far Away is the best song off the album and one of the band's best songs ever. The song features a constant wall of sound. It's an enveloping sound that just consumes your ears. It's similar to shoegaze but heavier. This is one of the most melodic and least heavy songs of the album. The lyrics describe wanting to escape everything with someone, wanting to drive away with all your problems and escape. The wall of sound is broken up by this excellent breakdown, then the song concludes with Chino repeating, "I don't care where, just far." Next track, Lotion, is the heaviest song off the album. The verses are the best rap parts from Chino. It's aggressive and unorthodox. I don't care for the chorus of the song much. With some other excellent choruses of this album, this one does not stand out. But the great rap verses more than make up for it. Die the Flu is an example of the opposite. The song has excellent choruses, but the verses are just good. The instrumental of the song is great though. The consistent drum beat with the droning strings. Head Up is another one of the heaviest songs off the album. The guitar riff is excellent with more great rapping from Chino. One of the best performances from the entire band. The chorus is fiery and features Max Calavera of Sepultura and Soulfly. The song is about Donna Wells, a friend of the band and Max Cavalera's stepson. Halfway through, the song slows down, then a calmer instrumental plays. Similar to Mascara, it's a really great and nice change of pace. And, again, like Mascara, it transitions very nicely into the closer, MX. The guitar riff in that song is killer. The chorus is heavy and grand. I'm not really a fan of the verse with drummer Abe Cunningham's Then Wife. The rest of the song is pretty great though. The album features another hidden track, Damone, which comes after a half hour of silence. This song isn't anything too great, but it's a worthy track that adds to the album. The guitar riff is pretty great and Chino has some cool vocals. Around the Fur is another excellent album by the band. Even though this is the last album to sound like this, I'm glad this was the album we got, and I'm glad the band went in the direction they did. Deftones went above and beyond with White Pony. This album changed their sound completely. It is one of the most important and influential albums in the metal scene. It took the band's nu metal roots and expanded them and branched it out into new genres, not only alternative metal and rock, but post-metal and shoegaze. It's a very diverse album. Opener Fate Sierra shows the more open and anthemic sound the album has, while the previous two albums were closed off and claustrophobic. The album is open and out there. It's an album that needs to be played loud. Of course, we get typical Deftones subject matter like women, sex, relationships, whatever. This album seems to feel connected, like every song matters. Digital Bath is an amazing, haunting, beautiful ballad that focuses on dreaming sounding drums and guitars. Chino's vocals are wavy and calm until the chorus where the song erupts. The song gives this ecstasy feeling. It's a feeling Deftones would perfect in their career. This is an incredible song that shows the more dreamy shoegaze side of Deftones. Next track, Elite, is the opposite of that. It's the heaviest song off the album, blaring guitars and screamed vocals. It sounds like it belongs off of Around the Fur, but it's fresher and more nuanced. The vocals are strained. The guitar riff is sick. There's a part in the second last chorus where the drums become out of sync with the rest of the instruments. I don't know whether that was intentional or not, but I like this detail and it makes the song more human, I guess. Teenager is the most unique song off the album. It's a slow trip-hop sounding song. The instrumental feels cold but comforting at the same time. It's a smooth song that makes you soar. The subject matter is sad, being about rejection, like many other Deftones songs, but this instrumental is really fucking great. Knife Party is another killer song. The guitar intro is incredible. When the band kicks in, the song feels so alive as the sound consumes you. It gives the same ecstasy feelings like in Digital Bath. After the second verse, there are some female vocals. They start out as quieter moans, but quickly turn into roaring screams. It sounds disturbing and haunting, but beautiful at the same time. The song has a lot of sexual as well as violent imagery. Given the subject matter, the female screams are more disturbing. The song transitions well into Korea, another heavy song. The song is strained, much like Elite. The final 3 tracks are not only the best off the album, but the best songs by Deftones. It's hard picking a favorite among these 3, but I would have to give it to the first of them, Passenger. This is a slow-burning ballad about wanting to drive away. This song features Maynard James Keenan of Tool, another one of my favorite bands who I've already talked about. So that could be why it's my favorite. The lyrics and vocals in the song are great. The contrast between Chino and Maynard work extraordinarily well. The song is cold and eerie. The verses are barren, while the chorus is loud and fast. Change in the House of Flies is the band's most popular song as well as my introduction to the band. It's another cold ballad. This song is very eerie with odd noises and feedback. It's an incredible song. It's heartfelt, moody, and meaningful. The closer, Pink Maggot, is another perfect song and a perfect closer. It's one of the best closers to any album. It's the longest song Deftones has written at 7.5 minutes. It has a real sense of finality to it. The sporadic guitar along with Chino's long vocals is a chilling combination. The song builds up to this epic wall of sound and amazing rhythm. It's an amazing and impressive song. The heavy choruses are so meaningful. The song cools down to this haunting, beautiful outro with the more sporadic guitars. The song ends with this heartbeat sound, and man, is it good. One time I was listening to this song on my way to work at 7 in the morning. It was dark outside and my volume was at max. When I got to this point, I could feel the heartbeat reverberating into my soul. Part of that is due to my shitty car speakers and the high bass on it. The point is, this song ends in an incredible way. White Pony is a must listen for any music fan. It is one of my favorite albums of all time, and it is an excellent blend of genres. Heavy and not that heavy. So there you have it. Deftones. A lot of these albums I kind of go back and forth upon. I think Adrenaline could go higher and Self-Titled could go lower. I think Self-Titled is a little better because it's a little more diverse. Overall, it's more nuanced than just kind of, I guess, a little bit better. The couple of good tracks on Gore could bump up the album better than Ohms, but I think overall Ohms is better. I think Saturday Night Wrist and Diamond Eyes are pretty close, but I think that Sex Tape bumps Diamond Eyes up a little bit, and Pink Cell Phone bumps Saturday Night Wrist down a little bit, so. But, whatever. Great band, great discography, one of the best. Fuck you.